Hello, everyone. I hope everyone is having a solid Wednesday. Appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day to attend this webinar. So my name is Amanda Freem. I'm a cloud business consultant at Hyland Software, and I will be covering the playbook for migrating to the Hyland Cloud. So I know we only have a half hour today, so I'm just going to go ahead and jump right into the content. So for those of you that have seen our, some presentations before, whether at Community Live or you were fortunate to be able to see last week's webinar on just, the Hyland Cloud 101 and, Cloud 101, you probably heard those speakers talk about why individuals move to the cloud in general, what are the market drivers, why people move to the Hyland Cloud, what is the value that they get. And there's different reasons there, right? There's disaster recovery, there's cost savings, there's agility, adaptability. But when you distill those down, really what they add up to is being productive, efficient, and more prepared for challenges, more efficient and productive, and being able to focus on what it is that you do, and being able to be ready if something comes up, such as, an unexpected challenge or roadblock, and large and small, right? Example of that being the pandemic. Well, the way that we approach the migration playbook or process is keeping these things in mind too. It's to allow you to be productive, continue to be productive and use your on-premises environment, to continue to be efficient and be prepared and have an efficient process. Similar to the migration process is sports. And I know sometimes sports analogies can be a little bit overdone, but it just plays so well here with the fact that we have a process and being prepared, working as a team, having a coach. And if you think about, sports, you want to be prepared to face those challenges and complete the tasks. And typically there's an end goal to arrive at. There's somewhere where you want to end up being to have that victory, whether it is the finish line or ending up in the end zone enough times to have the winning score, hole-in-ones, sending the route. I, selfishly included a climbing analogy. I myself am a climber, and in climbing, you have a route. Just like any other sport, there's an end goal that you want to get to. There's a beginning, and then there's an end, and there's a finish where you send the route. And we have something called beta, which is the preferred or recommended way to go about climbing that route. But everyone has a different strength, different body types, different experiences where they make small, slight adjustments to ultimately getting there. Still following the general playbook or beta, still following the rules of the game, but doing it to make it exactly perfect and successful and efficient for them. And that's how we approach migrations as well. Similarly, you have a coach in most activities. Maybe it's an obvious coach, or maybe it's a partner that's helping coach you through. And that is no different. Ooh, I'm a little ahead of the game here. So we have a process, much like in sports, you have a playbook. It is tested and finessed over the years where we've migrated over other customers. We have made it in such a way that it is built for least disruption, so you can continue using your on-premises environment until the very end. And the most important thing that I think is keep in mind that Naviant is there to guide you throughout. They are your coach through this entire process. Now, our approach has a lot of steps here. And I do want to take a moment to call out that we actually just posted a class on training.hyland.com that if you have a community profile, you can access this course. And it will allow you to kind of take this information. You can share it with your team members, watch it at your own leisure, and you have it available to you. But today we're going to focus on some few steps, but I will share the course title so you guys can look at that after this. But today I wanted to focus on some few steps. But to break this down a little bit, because this is the entire approach to migrations, including the playbook and including the preparation stages. So the first stages that we have are the preparation stages, getting ready. So much like in sports, you show up to the first practice, decide if you want to play. You gather the information, you look at the analytics, the data, you look at the team makeup, you look at what we have to work with, what's the end goal, and how are we going to get there with the materials and teammates we have. You have that coach reviewing and strategizing with you. What do we have to do to get prepared, hence the weights, and then getting your game face on. Having all of the information, having everything prepared, so when it comes time for the actual project to begin, for actual game day to start, you are ready to go and you are prepared and confident that it's going to be seamless and finessed for you specifically. And then we get to the actual game day, right? Things have actually been prepared, discussed, we are ready to go. You're at the finish line, the game has started, you're scoring those goals, you're hitting those milestones, you're doing those things that you've vetted out for the process that we have as a baseline, but then the adjustments that were made specific for your solution. You cross that finish line, you go live, and then all of your stakeholders are affected by that victory and happy because you have this new enhanced experience using the Hyland Cloud, being a SaaS customer. So gonna back up again and look at the whole view. Again, we have this great course that you can review that looks at each of these at a high level. But today, I wanted to drill into particular areas that I think are really key to hone in on in being successful. All of these steps are important, so I don't want to say that these are the only important ones, but these are the ones that I think we really need to keep in mind at the beginning of the process, so you have an idea of what will be involved in every step of the way. Not only the actual project steps of the migration, but also the preparation steps, because they are setting the tone. They're ensuring that you are successful for the migration project, which is a key part to the playbook, reviewing the playbook and making sure that you're prepared prior to game day so you can ultimately have that win. So the first step in the process is talking to your account manager to kick it off. And I'm sure some of you on the line today have already done this. If you haven't, after today and after receiving this information, when you're ready to go, please do contact your account manager to get the process kicked off. This is important because it not only kicks things off, but it also starts that phase of helping you get the information that you need to proceed. We have a lot of materials to assist with that. I know some of these you may already be aware of. Maybe you already have some of these pieces, but I think they're very key to call out. So, I want to call out something that's important as part of this process. Is it's just as important for us to get the information that we need to assist with this as you need the information, so you and your teams are fully aware of what's going to happen as part of the migration process, what information you can glean to share with your team members in terms of what is this meaning from a cost perspective, what is this meaning from an experience change perspective, all of that. So we have the ROI calculator. Later on, we can provide a more in-depth analysis so you can review the numbers with your team and understand what this is going to mean from an ROI and value perspective by moving to the Hyland Cloud from a total cost of ownership perspective. And we have the tools that we can assist you with that. And it's something that can happen right off the bat in that first step. We also have a lot of information around compliance, security, particular best practices in the cloud. And we're happy to share that information with you. Security is number one on our list. And we are not surprised at all when our customers see us see eye to eye with that. A lot of our customers, if not all of them, require some type of security review as part of the vetting process. And many of our customers, many of you on the phone may have this as well, requiring a written assessment. We heard that at Hyland, and we completed 2 written assessments that we can automatically just hand off to you, which makes the process so much easier and quicker for you to be able to get that information faster. We have the CAIQ through the Cloud Security Alliance, and we also have a completed SIG, the Standard Information Gathering Questionnaire. We can also provide our SOC 2 reports, as well as our ISO certifications and other information should you need it. Like I said, It's really important as part of this planning, preparation, training phase, if you will, to get the information that you need to know that this is the right step for you, it's being vetted, and all of those procurement steps are being knocked out on your end. Lastly, we have our experts. So many of you that participated in last week's webinar or presentations at previous Naviant events, as well as community-wide, may have seen this slide or similar slides calling out our experts and how I am a big believer that they very much are a huge component of the value, if not the biggest component of the value, by moving to the Hyland Cloud and being able to, in a sense, add all of these individuals to your workforce. But they're also there on the upfront. They're there to get you the information that you need to make an educated decision and share that information internally with your organization. So this is also another key step in that first part of the process. And if you need to get someone from our network security team on the phone because you have key focused questions after reviewing the SIG questionnaire, we can do that. We're happy to do that as an example. If you need some particular compliance review, we have that entire governance, risk, and compliance team to get on the phone as part of this process before we lock down and commit to that project. And you commit to moving to the Hyland Cloud, you get that information you need. So they're also there in providing value on the upfront. So we kicked things off, we started gathering information, getting information. Now we're moving to the point of needing to get into the details. We're taking that playbook and we're looking to see what adjustments and refinements we need to make specifically for your team, right? So one of that, the key piece is getting all of those details, and we have a means of doing so. And this goes back to our entire approach to the process. Discovery is huge when it comes to the migration process. And again, it's that upfront preparation phase, getting us ready for game day, getting us ready for the actual execution. It involves a thorough review of your solution, gathering all of those technical requirements, and making sure you're aware of those changes that are going to take place. Many of them in the back end, but still, it's key that you are aware. One key piece to call out here is that you will be moved to the latest release. So that brings to question of what is the delta between the release that you're on now, and helps the Naviant team understand how they need to coach you through the process. So again, calling back to this being twofold, it's you getting the information that you need to understand what's going to change and what might be different on both the administration and end user side. Again, a lot of it's just on the back end, but also the Naviant team who will be your guide and coach this entire process, allowing them to get the information that they need to make those slight tweaks to the playbook that's already there, and then making those necessary adjustments that are going to be best for your unique setup. The key way that we do this is through the Cloud Migration Questionnaire. It's a questionnaire that gathers the information that, some of it is beneficial for the Hyland team, but really beneficial for us to communicate to you what's going to change, and the Naviant team to see how they're going to build out their project plan unique to you, what they're going to look at the general baseline playbook and then make those adjustments. Now, for any of you that have the questionnaire right now, you happen to be filling out and you need assistance, Naviant and team, our side, we're happy to get on the line and assist through that process. We also will get on the line following the review and following you filling out this questionnaire and talk through it and make sure that everyone has a solid understanding of the information provided, of what that means in terms of how it's going to dictate the project plan. But this is such a key component. And again, it's happening in that preparation phase. It's us getting ready for game day. So here's some considerations that come out of that review. And this slide may be familiar to some of you on the line, but I still think it's important to call out these pieces as examples. This is by no means exhaustive. And there may be some things that are unique to you and your solution, but some key migration considerations for your playbook. When we look at the playbook, these are things that most customers are confronted with, at least a couple of these bullet points. One of them being Oracle. If you happen to be an Oracle database, that would involve a conversion over to SQL, as the Hyland Cloud is built off of the SQL platform. Encrypted disk groups and encrypted alpha keywords, those are modules that you will automatically get when you move to the Hyland Cloud. Know that if you already have them, great. If you don't have them, we're giving them to you as part of the move. So this is not something that you would have to purchase on top of what you already have. It's an additional layer of security, and we're all about security in the cloud, which is why it is mandatory. For a single sign-on, the key thing to remember there is that we do not support standard traditional Active Directory. What we really recommend from an authentication perspective is going with something SAML-based that supports the Hyland IDP from an authentication perspective. Know that Azure AD and ADFS are both built on SAML, work with the IDP, so they are totally fine. It's that standard Active Directory that would need to be transitioned over to something else. So just something to keep in mind. If you're using that today, that's something that would need to change, as well as if you're planning on using something, keep that in mind. Let me talk about autofill keyword sets and integrations, things of that nature. The key thing to keep in mind is from a security and compliance perspective, we do not allow direct database connections, no ODBC connections to the cloud. That said, there's still means of getting to the same end. It just is done a different way on the back end. And the two ways that you would do that are either a flat file ingestion, or you could use web services and or API level integrations if you need something a little bit tighter. Workflow timers, it's a good time to switch over to Unity Scheduler, and then know that when you move to the Hyland Cloud, you have access to an SFTP. You also have access to a backfile SFTP for bulk ingestion. Oftentimes that's what is used for a migration project, but also know that it's available to you in an ongoing basis when you're live in the cloud. Reporting, like another important thing to keep in mind when it comes to reporting is that we do not allow that server level access from a compliance and security perspective. That said, you can pull virtually any same report as you would from SQL right from the reporting dashboards interface, which is huge. The enhancements they made to that product over the last couple releases are incredible. If you need something on the reporting side that's a little bit more intensive, know that we also can help you there. We have a data warehousing solution, or data warehousing service rather, that can send out those exports on a daily, weekly, or monthly cadence. Should you need to pull in data from OnBase and you pull in data from other systems into something like Splunk or Power BI, that is also an option for you as well. And then administration, the key thing to keep in mind is back to that policy of not having that ODBC connection. So your administrators will access the cloud via Citrix licenses when they need to do configuration. So we provide up to 5 Citrix licenses that can be used on the Naviant side and on your side to access the configuration and thick or core client, depending on how you refer to it, as that is meant to only be a processing and scheduling client in the cloud. Your end users will access via URL through to Unity or web client, but know that your administrators will need to access both the thick/core client and config via those Citrix licenses. So it's a little bit of a different experience, but you still have access to those configuration tools. That's not changing. In addition, we also provide access to a cloud portal where you can view the status of services, restart services, and also view important system information. Now, I know that was a lot, but this is just a high level of some things to keep in mind that will change. And hopefully what you've gleaned from what I covered is that they're all on the back end, mainly on the back end from an experience perspective. But we really do feel it's important for you to have a full understanding of what that will mean. And again, that questionnaire is key because it not only talks through these baseline considerations, but also things that will be unique to you and how they will impact your solution. For the most part, your experience in the cloud is not going to be drastically different, but we want to make sure that these tiny changes and differences are going to be fully there for you to understand. This also helps the Naviant team, again, understand what they need to coach you through and guide you through the process with. So we've gotten through the preparation phases. We've gone through all of that training, that review and analysis, getting the team ready for game day. And this is where we get into the meat and potatoes of the process, if you will. So again, hearkening back to that statement that I made at the beginning, and that these are not necessarily the ones that we're not highlighting today are not important. It's that these are the ones that I really think it's important to touch on at the beginning and keep in mind. So these are the steps of the actual product itself, right? we've done all this preparation, we've done the review, we know who needs to do what the timeline is, and we are now ready to actually execute. We're ready to kick off the project. And these are the steps involved. So I know there's a lot on one slide, but I think it's helpful to see all of the steps in one view, and we're going to break this down. So play one, if you will, first step of the play is to deliver your data to Hyland. And I'm going to, call back attention to the fact that you have Naviant as your coach through this entire process. They're guiding you through this entire process, assisting and helping you give a backup of your database, your disk groups, and any other files needed for the solution over to Hyland, so we can start building out in its new home. Play number two, step number two in the playbook, testing, testing, testing. Testing is key. You'll take away from this entire process, not only is it built out for least disruption so you can continue working and very limited downtime, it's also built for testing and making sure that you are good with your new solution in the cloud. The important thing to note is that you are still using your on-premises environment. So it's important to keep in mind you are pulling in data. You're still using your on-premises environment. You're pulling in documents and data. That last step, the first step we just talked about, you sent a database backup and your disk groups. So there's a delta there. What we want to do is figure out a cadence of sending those data differentials, or what I like to call mini deltas, throughout the entire testing phase. So when we get to the final go live, that last delta is as small as it can be. As as many of you, if not all of you, know that sending data takes longer the more you have. If we can ensure that that last send of data is as small as it can be, it's going to take the least amount of time. Now, you all have different business processes and different ways of using OnBase and different cadences of uploading data into the system. Therefore, there is no right way of cadences for every single customer across the board. This is where those adjustments and nuances to the playbook come in that Naviant can help coach you through. As part of the preparation phase, they're going to figure out what is the right cadence for your particular business processes and your solution of sending that data up. For some customers, it might be sending in those deltas every 2 weeks. For some customers, it might be just one send in between right before the last send of data. So they will help you through that. The other piece is making sure that you track your changes. So we're at the very end of the process going to do a database refresh. Therefore, any changes that you've made to that nice, shiny new cloud testing system, you're going to want to make sure that you track anything that you've changed so we can incorporate those changes after the refresh. And we're going to track those changes on our side as well. And I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but again, keep in mind that the Naviant team will be here every step of the way, helping you test, helping you track your changes, and helping you get those mini deltas sent at a cadence that's best for your particular setup. Step 3 to date. Once you're all good with everything that you see, we're going to schedule a go live date. And this date is going to be key. It's key to keep in mind that this is the only time that your solution needs to be offline. So we want to choose something that's least disruptive. For most organizations, that happens to be on a Friday afternoon. But if there's another time that works, we will be flexible, because again, this process is built to be the least disruptive, most convenient for you, so you can maintain productivity and efficiency on your on-prem environment until the very last second. So step 4 of the play, we are ready to go live. But before we can, you have to stop that on-premises work. Clean cutover is very key. And this is where it comes time to send that fresh database backup and then the remaining disk group data over to us. So hopefully that disk group data is very, very small, as small as it can be, and it should be, because we've figured out that perfect cadence of mini delta sends. Back to testing again. So once we have everything pulled in, we're going to send over the solution for testing one more time. So that last send of data was sent in, those changes were incorporated, everything was pulled in. We're going to send it over to you one last time to make sure that you are good with what you see. So hopefully, if you take away anything from this process, is that it's testing is key. And again, the Naviant team is there and available to assist you in making sure that you're good with testing every step of the way, especially at this last step in the process. Once you are all good, this final testing phase is complete. You will be live in the cloud, getting those benefits of SaaS, being able to be even more productive, even more efficient, and more prepared and ready to go. So you can compare this back to that victory slide of those fans in the crowd, of everyone being very satisfied with the win. You cross the finish line, you're able to take advantage of a private managed, secure, supported, reliable, local, and compliant solution, and continue to accelerate that digital transformation. So taking it back to this course that I called it at the beginning, it goes through each of these steps, but at a little bit of a slower pace and more of a high level. So it doesn't hone in on those ones that we honed in on today, but looks at that high level process. So you have a very clear idea from the very kickoff of starting things off with your Naviant contact all the way through to the very end of go live. It's available. It's an e-learning course, so you can watch it at any time, multiple times. It is there for your consumption and sharing amongst your team. So thank you very much. I really appreciate everyone taking the time out of their day. I know that everyone's very busy, so we appreciate it. Know that, again, the first step is reaching out to your account manager. If you have any questions, they can not only get things kicked off for you, but they can also get you the information that you need. So I don't see any questions, but if you come up with any afterwards, please, again, reach out to your account manager. They can get someone from my team looped in as needed. And that is a wrap. Looking forward to starting this playbook process with you guys so we can get a victory across the finish line. Have a solid rest of your Wednesday and week. Take care.